Waiting. All right. Should be good. Are you good, sir? Hello, sir?
Plane.
Plane. You have a plane? Okay. I got that.
It
That's
is leaving.
universal for plane.
This is plane pointing up to the sky.
The
Okay,
plane. The plane.
we're all good.
All right. More water. This is our mini episodes tonight. I don't want to give a number, but it might be 4. Okay. All right, sir. Here we go. Welcome to Just Curious Media. This is That's a Crime. I'm Jason Connell.
And I'm Sal Rodriguez.
All right, Sal. We are back for another crime.
And one that hits a bit too close to home for me.
And one that hits a milestone. So there's a lot going on here. This is That's a Crime's 50th episode.
Wow. 50.
5-0, baby.
Oh my gosh. I should be drinking champagne. We both should be having some
I
champagne.
know. Well, we celebrate hundreds, but I just happen to see like, hey, this is 50. So I'll just mention it. We won't make a big, big thing about it, a big to-do about it. We'll just mention it and we move right on because this podcast is also very close to us indeed. Because today we are breaking down the true crime story of the Stalker fatally shoots audio streamer and husband in 2023. Now, you may say, audio streamer?
Yes, what is that?
About? Is that not a podcaster? So let me clarify, Sal.
Yes, please.
This is a very recent crime and a tragic crime as we get into it.
Yes.
But most of the publications put podcaster out there.
Yes,
headlines.
absolutely.
So I'm like, podcaster? Who? What show? What's the? Most of people are either on some sort of platform or they have some sort of network or I don't know. But I wanted to get to the bottom of it.
Sure.
Come to find out, one publication, the New York Times, had this person as an audio streamer, to be specific. So this is the difference in the two. We know what podcasting is, but this is what you would call audio streamer exclusively. The audio stream for this crime was hosted on Clubhouse. I've never heard of Clubhouse as far as this goes in this context, which is an invite-only tool that features user-hosted chat rooms with either a few or thousands of people who can choose to listen or join in on the discussion in real time. So think podcasting, but live, not pre-recorded, edited, or uploaded. Well, we do both. We are podcasters and we, record locally. I get all the files, we do post-production, and then we release it, right? We're also going live on YouTube. So it's kind of a hybrid here. We're doing live as well, but this is a special new app platform that allows really people to tap in more easily, probably. So technically this was an audio streamer. So I am a purist and I wanted to get it right.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that because, my friend Abby Nelson sent me this story originally, sent me a link, told me about it, and all I had was a bunch of questions.
Right.
Because, it said podcaster, and of course, I went, well, podcaster, well, what show? What show? And I couldn't find any information. So thank you for clarifying things.
Hey, my pleasure. I learned something as well. I didn't know what Clubhouse was, and so it allowed me to do so. But I'm assuming that most publications were just like, hey, podcasters more sexy, more flashy. People know what that is. And then, and as you have always said, because you've been in the business, the news business, that it's got a little sloppy with some reporting.
Well,
so
I've been saying for a while, journalism is dead. I've been saying,
well,
that's the true crime, right?
That's it. Let's cover that. Well, let's cover this crime first because it's tragic. These details are scary. And beyond being an audio streamer, I mean, here are just 2 people that are gone far too soon, and it absolutely could have been avoided on many fronts, I would say.
Yes.
So not anything to do with the audio stream. I just mean with laws being how they are, and really, can we ever truly protect ourselves if someone's got a beeline for you? That's the scary ones. This is one of those.
Well, also one of those, the thing that was blaring to me once we get into it was being able to so easily find out where someone lives. I
Well, there's that.
never have ever thought, and I got this from my mother, nobody, unless they're a close friend or family, should know where you live.
Yeah, I
Period.
agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Oh, one quick thing. It's almost St. Patty's Day here, just 2 ticks away on Eastern time, and
Oh,
I
man.
am greened
Oh,
up.
happy
So
St. Patty's Day.
the last name like Connell, you have to be. Thank you, sir.
Yes, absolutely.
So this crime, like I said, is very recent, less than a week old. That's
Wow.
how recent this is.
Hmm.
On March 10th, 2023, 38-year-old truck driver Ramin, and bear with me, this is a longer last name, Khodakaramrezaei from Houston, Texas, broke into an upscale home in Redmond, Washington, 15 miles outside of Seattle, around 1:45 a.m. and fatally shot 33-year-old Zohreh Sadeghi and her husband, 35-year-old Milad Naseri, before turning the gun on himself. Sal, these are always the scariest crimes to me. You could have a lot of layers of protection. You could have a ring camera. You could have this. You could have a dog. If somebody is hunting you down, that is a hard thing to stop.
Yeah. And I've been co-hosting this show now too long, Jason, 50 episodes now.
Right.
Just before we started recording, there was a knock at the door. And I'm thinking, and it's dark. I'm thinking, well, who's knocking at my door? I look through the peephole. I see a flashlight.
What?
And I'm like, what the hell is this? I then see the figure walk away. As they walk away, I then open up the door, peek out, and he turns around and says, Amazon. It was an Amazon delivery guy.
Oh
But
my
it's at night. He's got a
gosh.
headlamp on his head, blaring into my peephole. It was jarring for a
How
moment until
dare
you
he
realize,
blare into
it's
your
a
peephole? I mean, come
yeah,
on.
exactly. Yeah, don't blare in my peephole. But yeah, I know I'm low tech in that regard. I don't have a ring camera or anything. So I'm looking through the peephole, but I see some silhouette with a flashlight in my face after dark. What the hell's going on here?
Scary. And well, it's midnight here now officially, so it's 9 there. So this happened 8 something.
Yeah.
Had it happened at midnight, that's a whole other thing. You're not
Sure.
opening the door.
No.
No, you're just like, no, this is what's this? So exactly. But this is 1:45 a.m. on a Friday night, and your guard's down. But there's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack because the audio streaming portion comes into play.
Okay.
So apparently, Ramin climbed through a window and entered the home firing. Again, terrifying and tragic. At some point during this deadly home invasion, he had an altercation with Sadeghi's mother, who escaped and called 911 from a neighbor's home. So this whole scene is terrifying and playing in my mind like, oh my God, how did it go down? What's the logistics of this? Well, I watched the video. I've read several articles about this. There was like a little snippet on, the 911 call on one of the videos, and I'll let you read it. And it was terrifying just to hear this person's words because they're in distress, but please.
They have an active hostage situation. The shooter is not detained. So meaning this is happening right now.
Right now. So the mother has gotten out of the house, gone to some neighbor's house. They let her in. It's 1:45 a.m. Sal. It's 8 something. You're in Amazon's freaking you out. 1:45 a.m. and someone's banging on the door about someone with a gun. Not a lot of people open that door.
No.
So
and you know what, Jason? This is another, I think, advertisement for having a dog. I was brought up where we would have 2 outside main guard dogs. That was their official job, was being guard dogs. And then we had an inside yappy dog. So we had the big guard dogs outside. They had an inside yappy dog.
Yep.
At the very least, with that, you get a warning.
Or warning.
At the very least.
I've had dogs my whole life, not currently, and mourning and grieving, but eventually, yes, because I love them for many other reasons, but that is a nice little bonus. No one's going to sneak up on me.
Yeah.
There's just usually I have big dogs. So Terrifying though. The neighbor must know the mother. I'm
Mhm.
sure there's some
And how did she get
familiarity.
away? This doesn't
Well,
explain
that is incredible.
how did she get away from a killer?
Incredible. So
Wow.
they go over there, they call the police. Now, when police arrived, they found Naseri, the husband, lying on the front lawn with a gunshot wound to the chest. He was administered CPR, but was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, Sadeghi and Ramin, and I'm going to switch to Ramin's first name just because the last name, it takes a little bit more to say and I don't want to butcher it, but I thought I got through it pretty good earlier, so I'm happy with that.
Sure.
But
Sure.
Ramin, both Sadeghi and Ramin were both found dead inside the home. And now I did see that here that one of the neighbors told a reporter that they had captured, and maybe it's the same neighbor, I'm not sure, that was unclear, but they had captured some of the horrific events on their security camera because
Wow.
obviously, one of the victims winds up in the lawn. Someone had to enter. I mean, Ramin had to enter the house. So, and I'm sure it was loud and the mother's running out. So he, was saying how heart-wrenching it was, the footage, and how he's probably not going to look at it again. And I'm assuming that footage is now in the possession of the authorities, I would hope,
Mhm.
just to kind of piece it all together. But it's like,
Mhm.
oh my God. I mean, just being that close to something that tragic has its own impact on you, from like the safe little upscale neighborhood to its crime scene.
Mhm.
And they probably knew their neighbors. Like there's
Wow.
just so many, collateral
Yeah.
damage here, people impacted by it, but no more than our victims. Now, as for how the killer knew the victims, and now we're getting to this coming into play, the streaming. Sadeghi was the show host of a Farsi audio stream about gaining employment in the tech industry.
Hmm.
And interesting, very niche,
Yeah.
but again,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know
I never heard of that.
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
So if you're in anything that's really niche and it's more of a discussion,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe Clubhouse really appeals to that. Like, oh yeah, no, that impacts me. It's kind of like a radio show, essentially. It's a
Yeah.
radio show with live call in, but it
Yeah.
just helps facilitate that. And Ramin became a fan of the show, and he and Sadeghi developed a friendship. Very similar to a fan of one of our shows, Sal. I've developed some friendships with some of the fans. We've had fans on
Sure.
and talked and like, oh yeah, something comes up and they throw something on your radar. So I get that. I get that, right? But that's kind of where it ends. Well, at some point in time, Ramin's behavior changed and he began stalking Sadeghi. And Sal, this is where it gets dark. Anything you want to chime in on before
No,
we?
no, the whole stalking thing. I've had a couple of instances in my
Exactly.
life
Yeah.
where there was a couple of people in my life, one about 15 years ago, one a couple of years ago, where I thought they were getting dangerous in the things that they were saying, in the consistency of them reaching out to me. Just the whole thing became where I was, looking through the peephole. And that's a whole
Wait.
nother thing. Speaking of a dog, not only should you have a dog, but I recommend people not have easy access to your front door. Everybody should have a gate, some sort of security gate or something. Nobody should just be able to walk up to somebody's front door. And yet, how many houses can you do that? I'm not a fan.
Yeah. We do have a few acres here, but we can see him coming. So, if anybody starts driving up our long driveway, I'm already like, huh?
Mhm.
So, yeah, but I'm with you on that. So just you don't have to get into it. You've told me about one of these incidences before, but not too many details. Were they fans of yours? See you on like stand up or on shows or anything? Or was it?
No, I would say no. I
Okay.
would say that the second person became sort of enamored with me. We hung out as friends, and I think that after a while they thought it meant something different than I thought it meant, or it
Okay.
was deeper, or if they told me, oh, I was thinking about you, I'd be like, oh yeah, I thought about you too. Like that, but that means something different, little things like that. So
Yeah, you were picking up on it. Yeah.
yeah, and then finally got to the point where there was like there eventually was a late night visit that it was not, it was a surprise visit. I did not open up the door, but yeah, it got to that point, and it got to the point where I was going to I said, I'm going to go to the police. I'm going to go to get a restraining order. That was the next step, is to get a restraining order on this person, right? Who's just showing up at your place.
Yeah.
Yeah. But luckily, everything just kind of settled down, and I think everything's fine now. I think. I hope.
Yeah. Although you had flashbacks earlier today when you checked through the people.
Well, unfortunately, PTSD is a real thing. If you have trauma, I don't care what it is. It doesn't have to be just war, anything. If you have trauma, you'll always get triggered. You'll always keep kind of reliving it, unfortunately. And I think that's the case for everybody.
That's true. Well, authorities said that Ramin had been harassing Sadeghi over the phone for months, and even called her more than 100 times in one day.
Yeah. See, that's when when you see stuff like that, you're like, this is not healthy. No rational person would do this.
Yeah. Like 2 times, 3 times a lady, but 100, that's very scary. Just that one act.
Sure.
Well, all 100 of them, but yeah, very scary. It was around that time that Sadeghi disengaged with Ramin and contacted the police. Now, great. Good job. This is it. I'm disconnecting and I'm talking to the authorities because this is not right. Things aren't adding up.
Yeah.
Now, what we don't know, unfortunately, Sal, was Ramin still, trying to get on the clubhouse? There's so many questions that I have and we have. These are just all the facts, in front of us, and I've laid them out and gone through them, but I don't know that. I don't know if he was cut off from the show. Can you ban someone from a clubhouse? I don't know.
No, but you know what, Jason, in the defense, I forgot if it was this show earlier, I said journalism is dead. In defense of news writers today, I do believe that there is oftentimes embargoes on information.
Yes.
Like the police may say you cannot print this. The police may withhold evidence themselves because it may affect the case one way or another. So I will say again, in the defense of news writers, that I think they do not have all the information. So therefore they cannot give us all the information.
Yeah, it was this episode because we were talking about podcasting and audio streamers.
There we go.
But yeah, you're right, because there could have been people in the chat room that said, yes, this person, Ramin, or whoever his username is, was acting weird. So there's a lot of things they need to research just to learn more. Like, was this how we know that these people are dead and this guy did a murder suicide, but was there something else going on? Is there other people at play? But that said, Chief Lowe of the Redmond Police Department shared the following at a news conference. And Sal, please do the honors.
One message suggested Ramin, would love Sadeghi forever and would burn himself in front of her house. That's horrific. That's horrific. Wow. And yeah, Sadeghi has to walk around with that. Yeah. And we're assuming she did nothing to cause this or invite this. It's just, unfortunately, the bad luck of meeting up with a person who has incredible mental illness. Yeah.
And there's more here, I believe.
And when I say mental illness, it's one thing if you're depressed or if you're bipolar or if you're struggling with those sort of things. Believe me, my heart goes out to you. But what happens is when mental illness creates it makes the person dangerous.
Yes.
The person becomes a danger to themselves or others. If it's just to themselves, you do a 51-50 hold, and that's how they handle that. But a danger to somebody else, and then we're going to learn the lifestyle and occupation of someone like this. How do you capture a person like this? So it gets worse because it becomes hard to track them. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, please go on. I think there's more that
yes.
Chief Lowe said.
There were instances where the individual did show up at the location previously, bearing gifts. There were items, I'll say items of affection, gifts, that were also mailed to the item. They were also mailed to the victim. Some gifts were hand delivered, and then later on some gifts mailed.
Yeah, hand delivered. Let's keep that in mind. Knows the residence.
Yeah, there you go. I wonder if she ever gave her address to him.
So since there was a friendship, there could have been a, hey, this is where we live. We don't know if it was friend until it wasn't, much like your stalker
Sure.
or stalker adjacent, where it's like, yeah, okay, now things are weird.
Well, look,
That's what happens.
what you want to look for, all of us have to, when we meet new people, unfortunately, geez, lately my guard has been up. And here's one of the things. It's like when you meet somebody or a new friend, look for little signs or listen for red flags. So here's what happened. Okay, this individual that I'm talking about.
Yep.
When we first started hanging out, we're like going to go have lunch. And we met at the gym, I think. We're going to go have lunch. You're like, hey, you want to have lunch? And he said to me, you want me to pick you up? I go, yeah, sure, thanks. I go, here's my address. He goes, I got it. And I was like, you have my address? He goes, yeah, it's easy to find people's addresses. I was like, okay, whatever. And then we had lunch. Everything seemed okay and normal. In hindsight,
that's
this person that has my address and they say it's easy to find people's addresses. And then, red flag right away. Look out.
Man. Yeah. So we don't know if he found it on his own, was given, and then just kept, pushing that too far. So Chief Lowe also stated that Ramin once followed Sadeghi to a conference in Denver, Colorado near the end of 2022. And I had a moment there because I'm thinking, wow, that's just that alone followed there. So Sadeghi's like, oh, hey, what's up? No, I'm busy with this conference. And like that brings up so many questions in my mind. Does her husband know what's going on here? Is he, because he's protecting her? Like, Ramin's here. So I don't know where you're at in the sphere of, has he pushed it too far then? Or they're still on those friendly terms?
Yeah. And
then Chief Lowe also states that Ramin, visited Sadeghi's home the night before the shooting. Now that's even creepier to me, because
you would call that case in the joint if it were a robbery,
case
right?
in the joint. Now he's already been there, but he's already showing up again. Now let's not forget, he lives in Texas. This is in Washington State.
Wow.
This is a long way away from one another, halfway across the country, practically. And what we're going to get into is some of the things that, when I said earlier, this could have been avoided. And I'm not pointing the finger at anybody but Ramin, but there are some things in place with protective orders and this, that, and the other, that, like, how much are they really protecting you? And they can't even find someone, they can't really serve it. So we'll get into that. But here is the person on my doorstep the night before the shooting, the same person that, quote unquote, they're already looking for. That's scary. And that's where the system is failing. So fearing for her and her husband's safety, rightfully so, Sadeghi was attempting to file a non-contact restraining order. She first spoke with police in January of this year after the Denver trip. And sometime maybe there was some more things popping up, but the investigators, there's only one. The investigator was not able to locate Ramin due to the fact that he was a truck driver and rarely at his home in Texas. Because if he's not in Washington or Texas, he could be anywhere, Sal.
Anywhere in the country. Yeah. Or hell, sometimes people go international. He could have gone to Mexico, could have gone to Canada. Yeah, there's no way to know.
I drive across country quite a bit. I enjoy it. A lot of truckers on those travels. In fact, at some point in the night or on the days, however long it's been, when I go from East Coast to West Coast or in the middle of the country, you're a minority. It's mainly truckers.
Sure.
They're everywhere. And that's, they're doing their job. But, this guy, he's a nomad. So they sleep in their cars, or it's like their apartment, it's a huge cab, and Texas is a long way. So they can't find guys like this that don't want to be found.
No. And you know what? It brings to mind something else. And that is that when you see what has occurred and you see the kind of profession that he's in, I wonder if maybe he's done something like this before, maybe wasn't caught.
Yeah.
A guy like this may not have done this for the first time in this incident. It's entirely possible that he's done similar horrific things to reach this point. Yeah. I hope, I don't hope he did other things, but I hope that this may open up some other cases. Maybe if you look at his travels, look at his routes, go back in time, maybe.
Well, then in March this month, Sadeghi filed a protection order request and shared in her words in this request. Go ahead, Sal.
These delusions make me fear for my life and the lives of my loved ones.
Hmm.
So Ramin's delusions, whatever that meant, like maybe he thought they were having a love affair. Is that maybe what he thought? That was his delusion.
Yeah, delusion for sure. Yeah, because he's obviously obsessed with her. You have Sadeghi, like, who know? I don't want to speak for them. They're victims and it's tragic. But Naseri, it's like, no, if the signs are there, everyone's going to see the signs. And I'm sure he picks up on it too. And yeah, they're like, file it. She's sharing this. He's coming to the home the day before this brutal massacre. And it has a sense. And well, we know what happened, but we're just kind of sharing the facts here. But yeah, it's heart wrenching to know that, all I can say is like hindsight being what it is, but God, I just wish they weren't there. I wish they had gone to someone's lake house or rented a thing or let but you think, well, the cops will get around. He's in Texas and we're taking steps, but sometimes those just aren't enough steps
No, but
because
you know
of
what else,
people like
Jason?
this.
No, but you know what else is because if this guy knew her itinerary to the degree where he follows her to a conference in
Yeah.
Colorado,
Yeah,
even if they
exactly.
weren't there that
Right.
night or
He'd
even
know.
the next night, he might
Right.
have been coming back again. So, yeah, this is one of those things where this guy was on a mission. He was on his mission, and it probably they'd have to be in some sort of bunker to
Right.
be safe from a person like this.
Or if he's picked up and just takes the wind out of his sails, and that's kind of what you want to have happen. Scare him. He never got that scare moment as far as we know. So,
Well, because if there was indeed a restraining order, maybe, hopefully, there could have been a moment where he broke the restraining order, gets arrested.
Well, that's what I mean.
And yeah, maybe that would have done
Well,
something.
that's what I mean. That's what I'm alluding to. That yeah, he gets arrested, and it's like, oh,
Yes.
okay, wake up call here. The sobriety kicking in. Okay, I can't. I gotta not saying he couldn't get out and do it, but it would have been a deterrent.
Sure.
So a judge did issue a temporary protection order forbidding Ramin Khodakaramrezaei from contacting Zohreh Sadeghi, but the order was never served.
Because they couldn't find him.
Couldn't find him. And again, keep in mind the date on this. This is in March. This just happened last Friday. So yeah, they couldn't find him. And unfortunately, other cases I've come across in my days, some that we've covered on here, but they can't just stick a squad car in front of everyone's home that's dealing with this type of thing. Now, if you have the funds or you can afford it, you start to put up some deterrence or having some rent-a-cop, just a presence to be like, well, I can't go there. But
Sure.
they weren't at that level. Most people think, yeah, he's into me, but no way. In fact, if I recall from what we just talked about, Ramin had threatened to burn himself up, right, on her lawn. So they're probably thinking this guy's going to kill himself, but no one's probably thinking he's going to come in with a mass murder and kill the both of us and then take his life. Like, you're sleeping at night, but you're a little cautious, but you're not on edge. But again, I'm not trying to speak for them. I'm just kind of rationalizing things here. Well, Chief Lowe from earlier also shared the following. And, I know his heart's in the right place. I actually saw one of the policemen on one of the videos, but I'll let you say this and we'll speak to it as well.
This is every detective's, every police chief's worst nightmare.
Well, it's got to be. Okay. Yes. And everybody, and I'm not pointing the finger at the cops or anything like that or the system, but I kind of am at the system. It took this long if they couldn't find him, I feel like there should have been a motion sooner. And the minute this guy is showing up or I'm getting something delivered to me or he's coming to follow me somewhere, he's going to get arrested and at least try to, smack some sense into him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Hopefully.
my heart goes out. I tried to find out more about the clubhouse, the show. Maybe they took it down, maybe not. I don't know. Just because I was just curious. I'd like to just learn more about her as a professional she's a victim, and I hope that what they were doing, that it can live on, because I'm outside of, Ramin, but maybe she was bringing a lot of people to her conversation about Farsi and working in tech and just hopefully helping people. I
Yeah, it
mean, I
seems like she was
saw
providing a
providing a
service.
service and,
Yeah.
and connecting with people, and seemed like a really good person. The photo of her and her husband, they just look so lovely together. The mother, how now has her daughter slain, at
You
her.
know what? You know what, Jason? I was going to say the mother's so lucky to survive, but is she? I mean,
No,
really,
it's
look what
no,
occurred here.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrible. She'll never recover. The neighborhood, other people that knew them and loved them, family and friends. It's just, yeah, this is a really tough one. And it's just so recent, and it deals with someone in our line of work. And yeah, I just, and if you see the signs, I just wish, and maybe this will help make change, that others can pick up on it. I mean, this guy he didn't just wake up one day and went and did something, which is impossible to stop.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to go down here and do it. There were signs, and it's like
Yeah.
amazing that signs along the way still can't stop this from happening. That's what's scary to me.
Yeah. No, that is the case. I think we've learned. They've over the course of our lifetime, they've done a lot of made a lot of headway or leeway, or headway would be the term, in the realm of stalking.
Yeah.
A lot of laws now that weren't around, but still, a stalking law or a restraining order, those are pieces of paper. Those will not
Exactly.
ultimately protect an individual from a person who has horrible motives.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know if there's ever an update here other than just a big condolences to the family. Rest in peace to our two victims. And
Rest in peace. And you know what's also sad, and this may sound strange, but
no,
the fact that he commits suicide, because like we'll never get to see a trial. We'll never get to see justice.
exactly,
At least we get to
exactly.
see some justice if
I
there's a
know,
trial, if there's a
I know.
conviction, if there's a sentencing. Hell, in some states where they even have a death penalty, you may see some of that. But it's like he kills himself. I almost feel like there's almost no closure that way.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe you get some closure if you at least have an arrest and a conviction, and you can imagine that they're rotting in a jail cell. I mean, I don't know. You'd have to speak to actual victims to see like what would they prefer. If you were victimized by somebody to this level, how about the mother? Is she glad that the guy killed himself, or would she have preferred that he was apprehended?
I know.
That's a tough one. It really
Very
is.
tough one. Yeah. Well, Zohreh Sadeghi, Milad Naseri, rest in peace. And we'll come back with more crime, Sal, but that does cover, sorry, I lost my notes over a second. That covers the true crime story of the stalker fatally shoots audio streamer and husband in 2023.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
So thank you so much for listening. And please be sure to subscribe to the That's a Crime podcast and the That's a Crime YouTube live channel. You can also really help us by giving the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast.
And for all you listeners that enjoy sharing your thoughts, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, send us a direct message, or post a comment on any That's a Crime social media platform.
We also highly recommend checking out our other podcast and visiting justcuriousmedia.com. Great job.